Marriage is absolutely amazing, but it's also hard and takes a lot of hard work to maintain it and keep it healthy. But what happens when little by little, one or both of you stop putting that effort into your relationship? The gap between you starts to widen, and then other things will come between you, like your kids, work, friends, even church could start to take a priority over your marriage. And before you know it, that person that you once called your best friend isn't your best friend anymore. There's only room for three in your marriage: you, your spouse, and God. And anyone else that comes in, someone else has to go out, and usually that's God or your husband. Today, we're going to talk about the importance of maintaining your marriage and the three things that my husband and I do to help us grow together instead of apart. Just a warning, I will be talking a little bit about marital intimacy, but I will not be descriptive. I let my 5-year-old listen to the verbiage I'm going to be using today. If the words marital intimacy is something you find triggering or don't think is appropriate for your children, please skip this episode or listen to it in your earbuds.
As an Amazon affiliate, I do earn a small commission over any of the Amazon links that you follow and purchase in the show notes. If you do decide to purchase one of those, I thank you so much for your support because that money will really help this podcast grow. And I promise I will never ever link something that I don't absolutely love or use myself.
Do you miss having time for Jesus and yourself, but you're drowning in the responsibilities of motherhood? If so, you're in the right place. Hi, I'm Cheryl, wife, girl mom, and Jesus lover. I learned the not-so-secret ways to become the mom my girls needed by prioritizing Jesus back into mom life. If you're ready to build faith while washing dishes, rediscover your identity, and love yourself like your babies do, go grab your earbuds and lock that bathroom door for a minute alone. It's time for Mom. A couple of years ago, I went paddleboarding. It was a girls' trip. My mom, my nieces, my daughters, and a friend went paddleboarding. And for me, that involves sitting on a paddleboard with a kid tied to me just in case they fall off. And after this, my back would not stop hurting. Like, it literally wouldn't stop. It hurt all the time. It was really frustrating. And I reached the point where I had to find some answers. So I ended up getting an x-ray, and that x-ray showed that I had a broken back. Now, this was not a new injury. It was an old enough injury that there was some arthritis around it. But the x-ray showed that not only had I broken my back, but the disc was slipping forward and had started to choke off my spinal cord. This is called spondylolisthesis, and I have apparently had it for years. There is no fix for this injury, not until the spinal cord is like 80% blocked, and then they do surgery. So once we found this injury, I started taking physical therapy, which is amazing, and found that the only fix, which isn't a fix, is to deliberately strengthen the muscles around the injury to prevent it from getting worse. And that means I will likely never be able to stop PT. One of the things that they have me do are very specific exercises, a minimum of 3 times a week. Every day is better. If I don't do that, my body takes a toll. I start to hurt and I can't make movements like just twisting. Putting my youngest down for her nap when I started this was excruciating. It hurt so bad. It doesn't hurt now, but it did. Just that simple act of leaning forward holding a child was painful. So I have to do these exercises at least 3 times a week, or my pain level goes up dramatically and my mobility is reduced, and my ability to take care of my husband and my children is reduced by a lot because I have to sit down or lay down because of the pain. When we started having children, the relationship between my husband and myself changed dramatically. Our babies needed constant care. That hasn't necessarily changed. They still need so much care, but now it's more of a teaching phase as we start to help them learn how to be people. They can feed themselves. They can even put themselves down for a bed in a pinch. They really don't like that, but they can. And because of our stage in life with little children, it is so easy to focus on my kids because they are the loudest voice in my life. They have no issues demanding my attention and making requests and whining and crying and biting each other. You know, they're kids, so, fighting. They have no trouble doing that, and they are the loudest thing in my life right now. It has always been a journey from the day we got married. I mean, even dating, because we were in a long distance relationship. We lived, there was 2 states separating us. So we did a lot of long distance dating. We spent a lot of time on the phone and phone calls and not a whole lot of face to face. So it's always been a journey of learning how to keep our marriage intact as life keeps changing. Because the day we got married, that was a pretty dramatic change in relationship. And today I want to share 3 things that I do to help maintain our marriage and keep it in a healthy place. Just like I have to do some things to keep my back in a healthy place, there's things I have to do to keep my marriage in a healthy place. And it's work in the middle of the kid chaos and chronic illness that we're dealing with and being ministry leaders and entrepreneurs. It's hard. It takes a lot of deliberate action and focus. And if we don't do those deliberate things, then we really do. We see a backslide, we see a gap, we see things start to crumble because we're not maintaining them. Number 1 on my list is to keep our love tank full. This comes from the book 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman. The book is fantastic. It's one of the 3 books that my husband and I went through in preparation for marriage, and it helped so much. It clarified so much. So my primary love language is words of affirmation, and tied for second was quality time and physical touch. My husband's primary love language is physical touch, which, believe it or not all guys is physical touch. But anyway, his second was quality time. And you would think that because we both shared 2 languages that were high, that it would be super, super easy to make each other feel loved. I wish. It's not. To start with, quality time has many different facets. My version of quality time is quality activities. So playing a game, sitting next to each other, holding our hands, going to see a movie together, dating, which, yeah, don't get me started on dating. It gets so much harder with kids. But I need quality activities, going fishing, going on a little outing, even though my husband has to fight me to do this because there's always something louder than my need to feel loved. And for my husband, he needs focused attention. Can you imagine how hard that is with children? He needs me to be looking him in the eye, to not be on my phone, to not be doing the dishes, to just him and me focusing on each other. That's what his version of quality time is. They're pretty different. Even though they have the same title, they are not the same. And honestly, even physical touch has been difficult because children have more needs. Like I said, they're just louder. They're that squeaky wheel. They're cute as all get out, but they are definitely the squeaky wheel. But my kids are not the only thing that has to have my attention to thrive. My marriage needs my attention. So weird, right? My husband needs my attention to feel loved, not just my physical touch. He'll never turn that one down. But he needs my attention. Physical, eye contact, all the attention. He does need it. He doesn't have to have it all the time like my children seem to, but he does need it, or his love tank quickly empties and our relationship suffers so much. He doesn't feel loved or even wanted. His self-confidence goes down in tandem with the amount that I ignore him to take care of our screaming children. I promise they don't scream a lot. That's just like the easiest thing to say. They're loud, but they're not actually in pain or angry or anything. That's just the easiest word to say. In the middle of it all, of all the mom life and the chaos, I do feel convicted often that I need to pause and make sure that he knows that he's my man, that I love him and I desire to be with him. And even if we didn't have kids, and even if he goes back into the wheelchair that he was in a few years ago, he is my husband and I love him. He's the most important person in the world to me. And I do feel convicted often that I need to stop and make sure he knows this, whether it's a kiss, a hug, a hey honey, how are you? I love you. The other thing that I do is to check in with each other. This is number two, is I have to make sure that we check in. I try to do this in the morning before my kids get up. Theoretically, it does not happen. We've got an early riser. But the nighttime is a guarantee. We always put our kids down before we go to bed. Weird, right? We don't let a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old put themselves to bed while we're already in bed. I wish that'd be so nice. I hear that's coming, but it's not right now. I have to check in with him, see how he's feeling on a scale of 1 to 10. Is he feeling okay? Is he not? What is he actually up for in the day? Because, like I said, we've been dealing with chronic illness. But I also need to ask, hey, are you feeling loved? Usually I can tell if there is something distant. Not always. Sometimes I'm feeling distant and he's not, and vice versa. And when this happens, we often will check into each other and say, hey, I'm feeling disconnected or distant. We need to do something. What can we do? What can we change? This does bring me to the second book that I absolutely loved from our premarital stuff, and that was Love and Respect by Dr. Emerson's Eggerichs, which I had no idea that was his name. Everybody just knows it by Love and Respect. And it also builds on the 5 love languages, which is very nice. When you're tired and disconnected and distant, or honestly, if you're just a human, it's so easy to get snappy, to lose our cool, to say something that we didn't mean, or say it in a way that we didn't mean to. I mean, tone is everything. And these things can be insidious. It's like a splinter from dirty wood. It gets under the skin and it just festers and it swells and it turns red and it's irritating until it erupts out of your skin and shoots across the room, and then all of a sudden you find relief because it's out in the air and now the healing can start. And unless you take action and dig that little splinter out, that's what's going to happen, is it just sits and festers until it can't be ignored anymore. It's so critical to talk things out. Communication cannot be assigned a value in marriage. It is, to me, the most valuable thing in marriage. Communication is a must. Don't let things fester. And don't come at your spouse with a saw when all you need is a needle. I am truly guilty with this. I can get aggressive sometimes when it comes with irritation. It's, that fight or flight, and I think I'm more of a fight than a flight. When I'm hurt, I want to attack the problem and fix it. And I have to take a step back and make sure that I am coming to the conversation with respect at the forefront of my mind. Because I want my husband to feel loved, and to feel loved, I need to respect him. And I have to make sure that I keep that in the mind. He might be commanded to love me, but I am commanded to respect my husband. And I have to be humble and gentle, because most of the time when I'm feeling irritated from something, honestly, it's not my husband that's the problem. It's usually me. So I have to come at it from a place of humility and gentleness, because if I don't, the problem's not going to be solved. It's just going to keep festering and it's going to drive it deeper. Let your husband say what the problem is. Don't put words in his mouth, because from my experience, what I think the problem is not the problem. It usually comes from something deeper. Number 3 in my list is to make time for intimacy. And this enters book number 3, Sheet Music by Dr. Kevin Leman. I absolutely loved this book as a sheltered homeschooler. I was reading the Bible, just some of the language in the Bible. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's no way I could put these words in the podcast. Hence my term, marital intimacy. The other thing that my husband and I went through post-marriage was Laugh Your Way to a Better Marriage with Mark Gungor. Such an amazing conference, and it's usually on sale around Valentine's Day in case you want to buy it, just so you know. We went through these books and we talked about it. So, hey, is this true? Because most of those are based on gender norms and they're not universal. Sometimes the roles are switched, sometimes not. We're all perfectly unique people, and each person makes the dynamics different. So make sure you're talking about this with your husband and figuring out, is this true for you? Is it not? Is this how you think? This is what I think about this, so on and so forth. But as a mom of two little girls, as a ministry leader, as a entrepreneur now, I know how hard it is to have the energy for intimacy with your husband, because by the end of the day, I am tired. I fall asleep all the time reading books to my kids. I cannot lay down in their bed and read books or I am out. And that same thing usually happens when I lay down in my own bed. But night is about the only time. Like I said, morning is not a guarantee for us, but the night usually is where I can catch up, talk with him. We can give each other that focused attention. We can give each other conversation. We can reconnect on an adult level that's not filled with Curious George and Disney movies. But nighttime is also when my husband would like my attention. And I have to fight myself because I want to go to sleep. I want to choose myself. But if I choose myself over my marriage once, it gets easier and easier and easier to choose myself. And I don't want to. Marriage is one of the most selfless things you will ever do because you are constantly needing to put the needs of others above yourself. And that's what your spouse is supposed to do as well. And in turn, you are constantly building each other up. And a very strong union. If you go into marriage from a place of selfishness, your marriage will crumble, and that's all there is to it. Marriage is about serving each other, not yourself. And in those times when I want to just sleep, I remind myself that my husband needs me. He needs to feel that he actually matters to me. Because if I don't meet any of his needs, whether it's physical or emotional, he has no reason to believe that he means anything to me. And he does. He's the most important person in the world to me. But many times, my actions don't reflect that. And honestly, how much time does it really take to be intimate with your husband? It depends on you, your husband, and probably your cycle. Please do not share, email, comment any of those details to me. I don't want to know. But statistically, 5 minutes may be enough time to have that marital connection with your husband. Unless you're starting from a place of complete disconnect, I bet you would need like 30 minutes tops to make your husband feel like he is your man again. And really, how much time is that in the grand span of things, even if you're sleep deprived? Coming from a place of sleep deprivation, 30 minutes at night is not that much time. And the benefit for both of you will far outweigh the cost. 1 Corinthians 7, 3-5 is super clear that marital intimacy is for the husband and the wife. It benefits both of you. It is not just for making babies. Marital intimacy makes me feel loved and valued. It makes me feel more confident as a woman. And I know it's also a confidence boost for my husband. It makes him feel loved and valued. And it also deepens our connection in a way that nothing else can. It's part of what marital intimacy is designed for, to connect you together, to make you as one. So just a recap, the 3 things that we try to focus on doing. And I mean, it varies, life is life, but the 3 things we try to do is to keep each other's love tanks full. We talk to each other. We check in with each other at least once a day. For me, 2 is definitely better, but sometimes 1 is all we get. We try to talk about the problems before they fester. I ask my husband if he's feeling loved. I tell him if I'm feeling distant or disconnected. And I try to communicate before this becomes a problem. Number 3 was make time for intimacy. Even if this is just a hug and just a kiss, that is a starting point, but marital intimacy is non-negotiable. It's as non-negotiable as communication. It's a must. Marriage has to have maintenance. If you don't maintain it, it will break down. It's just like a car. And at best, you'll become tolerable roommates. At worst, you're going to end up in divorce. Your marriage needs your attention, not just your kids. But you have to find what works for you and your husband in the season you're in, and that will change. Marriage was way easier before kids for us, but that's not always the case. For some people, before kids, those early years are so hard. We had to find what worked for us, and you will have to do that as well, but it's worth the fight. I mean, you married your best friend, most likely. Your spouse is an amazing person. You fell in love with them. Don't forget who they are. They might be changing, so are you, but that doesn't make them any less of an amazing person. So this week, mamas, I hope you can take one of these things and latch onto it and grow with your husband. Rekindle some of that fire you may have had, that you probably had before children. Your man is important. Your marriage is important, and they're worth the investment of your time. If you would like a little extra encouragement this week, please go to bit.ly/momlifedevotions, and this will take you to a backlog of over 40 devotions that I've written. You'll get a new one delivered to your email every Monday. You'll get notified of any podcast guest appearances on my podcast or me on other people's, and also be the first to know anything else new and exciting, like hopefully a community for moms. Until next week, mamas, hang in there. What you're doing is worth it. The work, the time, it's worth it, and it's only for a season. You've got this. Hey beautiful, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If so, would you take 30 seconds and share this with a mom who is wading through those mounds of laundry and dishes and wishing for just a little me time? Also, please leave a quick review for the show on Apple Podcasts. Your review helps other moms find the show, and it makes my day to know this podcast has helped you. Well, it's time for me to wash more dishes and cook more food. I'll meet you next Wednesday for another episode. Until then, may the God of peace fill you with his grace.